Welcome to Safety Justice League.
The next time I have to come in here, I'm cracking skulls.
Beef jerky out, his black coffee in his hand, and he is interviewing a nobody.
Oh my gosh. Don't.
We're sending you back to the future.
NSFW.
I'm your number one fan.
Get my mental druthers ready here.
You need to do that red leather, yellow leather.
What is that, like a tongue exercise?
Unique New York. Unique New York.
There you go.
Watermelon. Any monkey business is ill-advised.
All right, let's get this started. Mute your people.
Mute.
Okay, now I'm gonna want to swear. I won't swear.
We're on a mission from God.
What one question though? Can Redbeard's beard actually like do some superpower stuff? I mean, that thing is getting big.
You can't handle the truth.
Today on Safety Justice League Presents, you've got Jason Maldonado and Jason Lucas, and we're here talking with the one and only Jason Patton. So that's right, everybody. 3 Jasons, one episode.
I mean, I don't even know if anyone's ready for this, but it's going to happen.
The world is about to change. So, Jason, I know you're the vice president of Fire Department Coffee. You've firefighter, I believe, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
Firefighter and a paramedic. And man, you make some videos that just put my safety snake bites to shame. This guy, if you have not found him on YouTube, you have got to watch his video. So without me talking too much, I want to give the mic over to Jason Patton and tell us a little bit about yourself. Where'd you come from and how did you get here?
I appreciate it, brother. I was a mechanic, just thought that was going to be where my life was going to lead because my father was a mechanic. And like roughly 2 years into it, I realized that I was a horrible mechanic and that I should never work on a vehicle ever. In fact, when I quit to go into the fire service, I had to go back like 2 years later to say what's up. And they're like, yo, 6 months of people coming back and telling us that their cars were still broken. I was like, hey, my bad, dude. I'm sorry. So thankfully I'm a better firefighter, but went to EMT school, became a firefighter, and I've loved it, man. It's been incredible, dude. I thankfully have been able to sow some of my comedic roots into all this, and it's just been a blast ever since, man. It was definitely something that when I got into being a mechanic, I was like, I don't know, man, I'm not very good at this, or I don't really enjoy it. But the day I went to EMT school, I was like, this is it, man. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I've loved it ever since. And it's been thankfully very mentally challenging as well as physically challenging, and exactly what I want to be doing on a daily basis.
That is such a cool origin story. And Jason Lucas, I'll let you take over here in a second. But one thing that I love about your videos and about what you do with the comedic aspect of it is you bring safety into it in a way that nobody or very, very few people, save maybe the Safety Justice League, very few people are willing to do. Like, safety's supposed to be boring. Safety's supposed to be stuffy. And man, you turn that on its head, and I just love it. So Jason, go ahead with what you were going to say. Lucas, that is.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. It was right along those lines. And I was thinking maybe we should just, say our last names, since this is like Jason, and Jason. This is Jason cubed, and it's actually amazing. I got to ask Mr. Patton, how did you go from an EMT firefighter to like making the decision? I think people can learn from funny videos about all this stuff. So where did that come about? What's the origin of the videos?
So the videos just started. One day we were messing around, standard fire department, firehouse stuff. We were all hanging out, and we wanted to make a video about what I've seen 1,000 times where people are like, hey, let's do National Geographics, man. I'm like, all right, let's do it, bro. So we did National Geographic's Fire Department Edition. We were hunting for the battalion chief, and we're like going through all the stuff. And we're like doing
crikey.
Crikey. But we walk up and he's sitting in his desk, and I'm like, oh, the battalion chief, the larger the bellies are, the more gnarly they are. And I'm like poking at his belly, and he's laughing. And we had a really good time. We put it up on the internet, man. People enjoyed it a little bit. Didn't get a big reaction from it. And then I put out the bitching paramedic one, and how that was their natural mating call, was just bitching. And that at the time exploded. Got 100,000 views in 8 hours. I was like, holy crap! And then it was just up from there. But I hate learning. I hate learning. I think it's boring. I mean, I enjoy the process of learning. Like I enjoy putting new knowledge in my brain, but I hate sitting down and reading. And I took a hazmat class one time, and I wanted to jump out of a window at one point in time. The information was cool, but the way it was presented was so monotone and boring. So I got into teaching CPR because my department that I worked for at the time we weren't really well paid for our area, so I needed a second income like most firefighters. So I got into teaching CPR. And about, I don't know, 3 months into it, I was like, man, I bet you I can spice this up, dude. So I started throwing comedy into it, and it worked perfectly. And I ended up leaving that place and creating my own comedy CPR company. It's called Patton Comedy CPR. And it's literally an hour and a half stand-up routine of fun educational stuff. And, I just found that the more you made people laugh, the more engaged they were. And with anything, if you can attach a comedic, memorable, portion or memory to a piece of information, they immediately remember it, and they'll remember it for long periods of time. So I was able to kind of weave that into CPR, and then I made that video, the comedy CPR video, and the response, I expected a few shares. I think it's like 3.5 million views right now, just on Facebook alone. And it was just really refreshing to see people wanting to learn, and especially with that comedic manner.
Man, that is incredible, and I am so there with you. One of the biggest things that people throw in my face, I've written a couple articles about my daughter, who's a little bit of a evil genius, and I call her a little stabby, and they're like, how could you say that about your daughter? I'm like, because it's funny. That's the only reason, because it's funny.
Yeah.
I gotta say your CPR video I watched it on LinkedIn, and I usually give videos like a minute, like normally. Like, especially on social media, it's like, if you don't capture my attention in the first 15 seconds, you're probably not going to get a minute. And I'll put my mouse over it to see how long the video is, to see how much I'm going to actually engage in this. And I have to say, I watched it from front to back. And I was like, I've been in safety for 20 years, and I just learned something about CPR from a video.
That's awesome.
From a video on LinkedIn. So, the comedy aspect, Jason and I, all three of us, we use
Maldonado.
We all use comedy to spread a safety message. And so I absolutely love your messaging and what you're doing.
No, I appreciate that. And I think it doesn't have to be there's always extremes, people who are super monotone, or the people who go the opposite way and they throw outrageously inappropriate jokes into their stuff. And it's like, if you can find, even just by lightening things up, a small joke here and there, that it really, really helps people want to pay attention. And I truly think, because people have said for a long, two things I've heard throughout my entire life is a sense of humor shows a mild sense of intelligence, and dark humor also falls along that same pathway. Because I believe that it takes a good amount of intelligence to be able to extract humor from a situation that most would look at it in a grim way. And doing it with taste makes it even better. And just a side note to your 10-second thing, the average watch span, if you look at insights in Facebook and YouTube and all these things, their first insight is 3 seconds. That's the average watch time of a person watching a video is 3 seconds long. That's what the attention span is now. It's insane.
Yeah, you've got to be able to capture that right away. I actually was just interviewing Jade Vincent for a podcast we released on Wednesday. And the whole purpose of that conversation, because she's 19 years old, was how do we communicate better to Generation Z? And she's like, just keep it blunt, keep it quick, and don't use a lot of words.
Yeah. People don't care, man. You're just like I am, man. A video comes up, and I put my how long is this? 5? No, I was watching highlights of the MCU of this MC Universe thing, and it was just because I like Marvel and all that, bro. I looked it up. It was from Looper. and it was 12 minutes long. I was like, screw that. Let's get
Exactly.
to the next one. It's crazy, man.
Mr. Patton, you touched on something. You touched on something that I think is key, and I don't want our audience to glaze over it, because you mentioned something about things that are particularly grim, or that people would look at in sort of a boring context in ordinary circumstances. And I think in our fields, probably yours more than the safety and health field, to be honest, you see some grim stuff, and to be able to bring a little light and a little fun and a little bit of relief to that stress that you guys are going through. Man, I mean, what you're doing for the community, I think, is bigger than maybe you even realize, because those people are struggling. I know they are, because I do. I've been in fatality investigations. I've been in serious, just terrible, life-altering accident investigations, and it strips away a little part of your soul until you can figure out where you can find joy. And I love it. I love it.
I appreciate it, dude. And I never take for granted that people actually find what I'm doing funny and relevant. And I've said it to 1,000 people, because I had somebody come up to me one time, and I've also been asked on a podcast. They were like, "Did you ever get tired of, like, 'cause I'll go to conferences and I'll, get to shake a bunch of hands, take pictures and stuff like that. Like, you ever get tired of that?" I'm like, absolutely not. Because the way humans are, the way society is, you are relevant today and completely irrelevant tomorrow. So, like, the fact that people are able to, and I believe that a lot of that comes with being humble and understanding that, your connection with other humans is what makes you stay in their relevance, for lack of a better word. But no, I agree with you, man. I think finding humor and some light in what we do is so important, because if you don't, because unfortunately, death is just a part of life. It's like anything. If, the color white would have zero relevance or zero anything if you didn't have the color black. The light is always referencing dark, or going against dark. So I've always said that I truly believe that we have to find some kind of humor in what we're doing. But the issue that most people find is that when they go to dark humor, it's really jacked up crap. So you just got to try to find, keep it mildly PG, family friendly, and that's one thing a lot of people express to say, I really like that you don't curse, you don't do anything like that, because the second you start cursing or throwing in really bad stuff, then they can't watch it with their family anymore. And that's the last thing I'd ever want.
Well, you're better than me.
Look, we've only had 2 explicit episodes ever.
That's true.
I'm like Gary Vee. Gary Vee expresses stuff on curse words and stuff, and I've always liked it. I've always liked the way he is. I'll never be able to subscribe to what he does, but I think it's cool, because he's like, why does the F word bother you, man? He's like, you told me the F word is bad. And he brings up his, like, elementary school teacher. His elementary school was like, you're never going to make it anywhere because you curse. And he's like, I'm a billionaire, so I don't know what you're talking about. So,
Yeah. The Safety Justice League is a huge fan of Gary Vee, so you kind of touched our heart a little bit with that one. But one of his videos was like, this is how I talk. Like, I'm not going to change depending upon the audience that's available. And I love that. I love the fact that he's just real. He's just himself. I personally don't cuss very often. The Safety Justice League got a cuss word out of me on one podcast. It was like the first one I said in like 2 years, and they caught it on recording.
Okay, hang on. But we got one out of you. It took like 50 from me and Abby. So.
I mean, I curse a lot, but just not when there's a camera around, or if there's anything like that. I personally, I think there's a lot of elegance in art to, a well-placed F word. Just you just insert it there, kind of punctuates what you're saying, but not while I'm on camera. That's fine.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that, because I try to keep a lot of my videos the same way, like, podcast videos, anything that I'm putting out there, just try to keep it, because I want the same thing. I want people to take this home. I want them to show their teenagers. I want them to show their kids and use it. And you're right. I mean, if you hit just one wrong move,
I mean, I want
they're
people to be able to
done.
watch this
They're
in
done.
their classroom. Like, say, hey, we want to, look at, because I see that all the time. People send me videos of them watching. It's like Inception with my videos, but it's a video of them watching one of the videos, and they're in a classroom setting, or they're at the fire station, and it's awesome, dude. It's exactly what I want. I would rather appeal to the mass, to be able to saturate the masses of my own industry, than only appeal to a very small amount by doing, explicit stuff all the time.
Wow, man, you are so in line with what we are after at Safety Justice League, because that is exactly what we want. We want to be able to edify these voices, and what we find, and I don't know how much you know about the debates and hate and vitriol that goes on within the safety community, but it is a very divided field, and what we try to bring is the concept that everybody has something to offer. And, just because somebody has a bad idea doesn't mean that you throw the person out with the idea. Right. And this tactic that you have for inclusivity, I think really speaks to that, to that message. And maybe I'm getting a little too philosophical on it, but what we're after is really, hey, our goals are all the same. So let's figure out what's good about everybody's perspective.
Yeah, I mean,
let's do
your
that
most
stuff.
famous, your most famous
And
people
I
talk
love
about
that.
their failures and how many times they've done stuff wrong. Look, if you've walked into situations like only walking in guaranteeing that you only wanted to be 100% right 100% of the time, you've probably never left your living room. Like, that's just not the way life works, man. You got to walk in. You have to hear out the guy with the worst idea, because the guy with the best idea, it may be fine, but it may be 80% finished. And then the guy coming with the not so great idea may be able to finish those problems. And always, what a lot of people do when they walk into meetings or anything like that is it's always like, look at the things that I can do for everybody versus, hey, I can tell you right now, I've had many times where I've walked into places or created videos where I've created 85% of it. And then I ask, what else can I do to make this better? Man, small things are what change the little things that most people would never know that made the biggest difference in my videos or in ideas that I've come up with have been just, hey, you don't have all the idea, but you got 2% of it. And bro, that just blew it straight out of the water for me.
Hey, just putting it out there, but if you ever want some cameos in your videos, I know 4 people that are
I would love,
just saying.
Dude, I'm never against cameos. I'm never against doing videos. I'm attempting to work on a video right now for safety stuff. It's going to be for bleeding control, first aid tactics, stuff like that. And I want to do it. It was one company approached me. They're like, hey, can you do this for me? My issue with doing it for one specific company is most of the time, if you're doing it for a company, they got 18,000 revisions, and I just want to be able to throw something out there and hopefully people use it. But yeah, dude, I'm always up for anything like that, man, because I think that the more you can put out there, if I can help somebody learn how to put a tourniquet on, or help them learn how to control bleeding, or work with a heart attack or something like that, you're saving lives,
I'm sorry. I'm just immediately thinking in my head, like just every member of Safety Justice League coming to you on video with a different injury or a different, like, I'm bleeding, Mr. Patton. Could you please tell me how to stop bleeding?
Oh, we gotta now. We gotta do it now. We have to.
Listen, I'm always down for pretty much anything. That's
Did you see how that got a little quiet right there? He's like,
no, man, I'm down. Wait, but you guys aren't you guys in like 4 different states?
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
That's what makes video great.
No, I'm gonna, dude. I want to do that. I want to do videos on how to use automated external defibrillators. Things that like people want to learn. Teaching CPR, dude. The number one things, the first 3 things that I tend to address in classes is fears. That's the biggest, and it's always the same fears. But the number one fear that I always hear from people is making things worse. And I'm always like, dude, it is almost impossible to make an emergency seem worse. Like, I mean, the only way you could possibly do that would be like vomiting on somebody while you're trying to control bleeding. Like they might not like that very much, but or passing out on top of them, like my brother would. But dude, people are so afraid to screw things up, and if you break things down to a very simplistic manner, like, dude, not hard, just do this, and if you forget any of this, you call 911. They walk you through anything. I think it really helps a lot of people out.
That is a great perspective on all that. Hey, so before we get too far into this, I gotta ask the question, because we are huge fans of coffee. How did fire department, huge fans, like if you've listened to Safety Justice League for any, I think our first trailer, right, Jason? That was
the very first trailer was Nate Brayman talking about how he uses beef jerky
and black coffee.
Wait, beef jerky and black coffee for what? What was the rest?
For his beard. It was beard tips with Redbeard.
That's awesome.
Yeah, beard. Hey, man, it exfoliates, it moisturizes, tastes good. But I gotta know, what is the story of Fire Department Coffee?
I start doing all these videos, and I'm in Florida, and at one point in time, we're getting ready to get hit by this hurricane. Well, in Florida, if a hurricane's coming, they, depending on what's going on, they call in 2 shifts of firefighters, and they move everybody around. But there was going to be about 30 of us stuck in one station, which is insane. So I put this video up saying that this other coffee brand was the only thing that was going to keep us from murdering each other over the next 4 days of our life, depending on what was going on. So Luke contacts me. He's the guy who started Fire Department Coffee, and he's like, "Hey man, we should do some work together, bro." And I was like, "All right, man." I said, "Well, the one thing I want to do is, if we're going to do this and we're going to, raise some money and stuff, I want to take a percentage of this and create our own charities." I hate charities in general. I tell everybody that, because most of the time you look at a charity and they're like, "We donate 5% of what you give us back to the people." Like, what? So we wanted to take, because we don't have to take any incomes from it, we take 10% of all of our sales, and we dump it into guys who need it. So we support sick and injured first responders. Dude gets injured, can't pay his mortgage, we pay his mortgage for the month. So on and so forth. So it's always been as important to me. If the foundation of your life should be built up of helping other people.
That is incredible, man. It's a shame. It's a shame that Redbeard isn't on this one with us, because I think he would be with you 100%.
Well, he wasn't. He wasn't allowed. His name wasn't Jason.
That's true.
Redbeard. I mean, that's.
This is a Jason only.
I was all up for the first name that you guys came up with, but apparently, someone wasn't allowed to do that. So.
Well, it's majority rules.
But it's definitely the smartest. It was the smartest decision.
Sometimes Jason doesn't win, and sometimes other Jason doesn't win.
This is true. Yeah. So tell us real quick on that. Tell us how do we get Fire Department Coffee? Is it in stores? Are we ordering online? We're
100% online right now. We you just go to firedepartmentcoffee.com. Google Fire Department Coffee. We're on Amazon now. We have a spirit infused line right now. So Irish whiskey infused, bourbon infused, tequila infused. So all these coffees are infused with spirits or alcohol. You can get those. I think Touch of Modern has that right now. We're in a bunch of different places. So everything's online. You order it. And if you use the code FR15, FR15, you get 15% off your first order.
Oh man, nice. Can we get a beef jerky infused? Coffee made for Redbeard? I mean, that would be. It does. But you're guaranteed to sell at least one bag.
Hey,
because
hey, you know what, guys? Hey, I just noticed something. Somebody just showed up here. I think Nate just showed up.
Yeah. Redbeard.
Hey guys, I heard someone was talking about coffee.
Dude, the fact that your name is Redbeard is just absolutely beautiful to me. Like, I don't even. God, that's you know what, Redbeard? Since coffee is so so much into your beard care.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to send you a boatload of coffee just so you can infuse that in there, buddy. Yeah. Oh,
Hey, I like coffee.
Hey, wait, I got a beard too. Look at this, man. What's going on?
Are you
Hey,
kidding me?
I have hashtag.
His name's not even Jason.
Here's the beautiful thing about being a ginger beard, okay, is that I not only can steal souls, I can steal beard fame. The way I've done it to both of these Jasons.
Yeah, he really, Mr. Look, Jason Patton, I have a beautiful beard. Like I've worked really hard on this beard, and then I join a group with the guy who has the most glorious beard of all times, and it's ginger and red and beautiful, and nobody cares about my beard anymore.
Hey, all I gotta say is hashtag brown goatee.
brown goats.
Well, I get a freckle. I get a freckle for every soul I steal. And the same thing goes for beard souls. And I have 2 extra freckles thanks to these guys. So thank you, Jason.
I love it. Well, if you didn't know, I'm actually a ginger as well. I don't have a beard, but I am covered in my soul ginger, freckles as well. So
you know how it is.
Yeah, but
I get it.
we're still letting you stay in the Jason Club because you're a bald, like the rest of us.
Yeah, that's true.
Wait, everyone bald here. This is amazing.
Except for Redbeard. Redbeard. He has a beautiful head of hair.
Yeah, he's got a beautiful mane.
The rest of us are bald. I gotta talk about one of your videos real quick, and we can get back to coffee. The first video that I saw of you was the how to properly take off gloves.
Oh yeah.
When you were training, and you were playing all the different people, and the fact of that shaving cream ending that video from the top of your forehead to your middle of your neck was so glorious. I was like, I've got to find more of these videos.
Man, I tell you, because people, I love that video was actually a lot of fun to make. Not fun to clean up, but it was a lot of fun to make. Those that's what people talk. Man, I all these things I've watched over time, and I've watched people completely screw it. The whole yeeting thing. Anyone who's worked in fire rescue at any point in time has seen that. Like you literally finish up in sweat, and you're like covered in sweat and blood or whatever other fecal matters all over your body, and then you just watch the guy get off the back of the truck, put his gloves together, and then shoot that thing right across and someone gets hit in the face. They got pink eye now. It's just bad. Just bad.
That's so gross.
We were doing this. I forgot what it's called. Mop kits training, and I remember in boot camp we were doing these mop kits, and like as a last resort, you can use these blankets that are like chemically resistant. So if there's you're in a battle war zone or something, and a plane comes by and like sprays some sort of hazardous whatever droplets are coming down, then the last resort is I'm going to take this blanket out, and then they're teaching us like how to kind of turtle under it, and then what you do is to get out of it, you don't want to touch the other side that's contaminated, of course, right? With all the droplets, you can all relate to that. And so you have to like basically look into the wind, face the wind, and then stand up almost like a fairy princess and like hold it up with your pinkies, and then just like let the wind pull it away from you. And I kid you not, dude, I was like, oh yeah, I got this, I can do this. And I was very princess-like and esque, and I released it just so gracefully into the wind, and the wind just coiled the contaminated side around the guy behind me. Just wrapped around him.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh my god, dude, that's got to when you're training on that, you've got to be laying underneath that, or like as they're like explaining to you, like, all right, so yeah, this plane's gonna fly over, drop a crap ton of chemicals all over the place, and you're gonna grab your towel and put it over your, like, you got to be like, oh man, that's a bad day. That is a bad day, bro.
So if we're sharing stories, though, let me just provide this one. So when I first got to Korea, right out of tech school, when I was in the Air Force, there's this thing called the First Term Airman Center, and it's where you go to learn about all the ins and outs of the base. Where the post office is, and how to get your mail, and how do you go to the family support center, and all these different things. So it was a 2-week like in-doc class, right? And so we've spent the first week going through this class with our tech sergeant advisor that was teaching the class to us. And then Friday afternoon, about right after lunch, he comes in. He's like, "All right, Airman, I just wanted to let you know next week is a base-wide exercise, and you guys are not qualified to participate in the exercise. So I'm going to assign you to the Inspector General's office, and you're going to participate in an exercise that they're conducting from headquarters PACAF, which was out of Hawaii, right? So they said all they told us was Monday at 0700, you need to show up at the Inspector General's office. So we show up, and there's a tech sergeant standing there with a manila envelope. And he goes, "All right, this is what we got to do for the next week. I know you guys aren't qualified to participate in real, true exercises, but you do all have your MOP gear, which is, for those that aren't in the military, your chemical protective suits, right?" And he goes, "Our mission this week is to turn an ordinary building into a chemical fallout shelter. And I have a procedure here in this manila envelope, and it's going to tell us how to do it." So he opens up the manila envelope, and the procedure said something to the effect of, find a building, tape some plastic over the windows, and don't die.
In that order?
In that order. And man, we failed miserably. But throughout the week, we were sprayed with spearmint gas. We were decontaminated with activated charcoal. And we learned that if you silicone plastic sheets to the windows of buildings, they don't come off. Never.
Ever.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
So Jason Patton, you mentioned how much you enjoyed the glove changing video. I've got to ask, out of all the videos that you've done, what do you think is your favorite? What is the one that you have like the fondest memories
Like,
of?
I mean, it's just the other day I happened to jump on my YouTube and I saw how many videos I've done. I've just done like an inordinate amount of freaking videos, and I don't even understand how I've done it. But I would say the one we were talking about, my two top is my Haldol blow dart one. I don't know if you guys have seen that one yet, but the Haldol blow dart one was really good because everyone always talks about like people that are hard to, people that are kind of they're going through stuff and they need to be we need to help them relax. And it's sometimes difficult to do that. So why not do it with a blow dart? And then the other one was my what if we had to try every drug?
That one was brilliant. That was gold. All right.
Because there came from, I did one with the defibrillator. I don't know if you guys ever saw that one, but if not, I'll put it up on LinkedIn. But there was one where someone was talking about tasers. I'm like, why do you have to get tased to be a cop? And they're like, well, because you got to know what it feels like. I'm like, oh, I see that. So could you imagine if we had to be defibrillated before we could use the defibrillator? And like no. So that actually came up because I talked to this dude who was supposedly in the Army, and he was like, yeah, man, the only way we were allowed to use defibrillators in the Army, bro, is we had to shock ourselves. I'm like, that is not true.
No.
Because you would have 100 people dead. That's how that would end. So, like, everyone would die. So, yeah, I figured the drug one would be pretty funny. All right, guys, we got to try all these drugs. Oh, man.
Well,
Yeah.
More,
the nitrous oxide one. That one.
more nitrous oxide.
I don't think you stopped laughing the whole time.
Man, Jason Patton, that is. We've been chatting, laughing, joking for the past 35 minutes, and man, this has just been an absolute joy. I always want to end these episodes, and this one's a little bit different than anything we've ever done before because I've never had a surprise guest or even a co-host on any of my Safety Justice League.
Hey-o.
Yeah, there you go. So, Jason, I want to turn it over to you and just tell us where we can find you because, man, your message is so great and so positive that I just want to get it out there to as many people as we can.
I appreciate it, brother.
So, yeah, tell us where we can find you.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, YouTube, not all of them. And then LinkedIn, I still throw the comedic videos up there, but I try to do like, professional, like vice president stuff, expect at one point in time. So all those fun channels, yeah, man.
So if I ever sold like a lock of my beard, you'd never know if it was really my beard or my pubes.
Is this going in the podcast? I really hope this is going in the podcast.
It is. Of course it is.
It's just because what they don't know is we just spent the last 10 minutes trying to get back to wherever that screw up happened, and we go right into just Redbeard like, hey guys, by the way. That was some philosophical crap right there. That was like when the moon came, did the sun follow it? If I sold you a lock of my beard, would you think it was also my pubes? You would never know.
Oh God!
You're like the new Confucius, but not. So that was good. But a leprechaun.
So you guys joke, but you know what's going in the final version of the podcast. Hey,
Jason will do it.
I will do it.
He will do it.
Hey, man, Jason Patton, thank you so much for coming on the show. Your energy, your positive vibe has just, I mean, we were having a great day as Safety Justice League before you came on this show, but man, tonight was just the topper on the cake. So thank you so much for coming on board. Everybody listening, if you haven't watched Jason Patton's videos, and Jason, tell us again where you can find the videos, what's your handle on YouTube, all that, so that they can find these things because they need to.
Absolutely. Yeah. Fire Department Chronicles. That's the way it's spelled on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat, and I am on the millennial TikTok or Generation X.
Yeah. Generation Z.
Yeah. Dance videos.
Dance for me, dance for me, dance for me. Oh.
What comes after Gen Z anyway?
The end of the world.
Yeah, so it's shaping up that way.
But man, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. And I think we're going to have you back again. That's just a hunch that I've got.
Sounds great, man. I appreciate you guys having me on, man.
The views expressed on this podcast are solely the opinions of the hosts and their guests, not necessarily their employer, organization, committee, or any other group or individual on this planet or any yet to be discovered containing intelligent life. The podcast is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. Nothing within this recording is intended to be used as legal guidance or representation of any entity. No portion of the podcast may be reproduced without the express written consent of the show's creator, Safety Justice League, LLC. But hey, ask us nicely. We'll probably share.